What would you do if Rome fell? Well, if you're the Roman emperor, a lot. But what if you're living out in Britain? For 300 years, you've been washing in Roman baths, wearing tunics, drinking British wine. A bit sour, sure, but hey, almost Italian. And living in drafty Roman villas. Not great for the British climate, but definitely giving you those Italian vibes. Then someone comes along and says, "That's it, pack up. You're Celtic. Remember your barbarian roots. Stop being so fancy," and you're like, "Excuse me? I'm Roman, thank you very much." What is happening? It's 401. Flavius Stilicho, one of the players in Rome's endless civil wars, orders the legions to leave Britain. He needs them on the continent. Your first reaction, it happens. They'll be back. 9 years later, Emperor Honorius makes it official. Britain, you're on your own. As in, you're free now. That was just the first bad news. But there was also good news, sort of. You had one single option. Rome encouraged the mass relocation of Romanized Britons to the continent, to what was still Roman-controlled Northern Gaul. If you look at the map today, that region is called Brittany. But let's say you don't want to go to France. What are your options? Well, you're in for a full-on post-apocalypse. And not nice apocalypse. No Mad Max cars, no leather jackets. Just hunger, mud, and a whole lot of stabbing. From the north, the Picts and the Scots press harder every year, trampling vineyards, disrespecting the Roman baths. You go to the head of the local militia. After the usual, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" questions, he hands you a spear and sends you, along with fellow Romano-Brits, to crack some barbarian heads. The Romans loved building walls to keep out people you really shouldn't mess with. Much later, standing on one of them, Hadrian's Wall, George Martin got the idea for Game of Thrones. But things go south when the barbarians realize the wall can be bypassed, not stormed head-on as they had for centuries, but simply sailed around. They rob you, they kill your mates. This right here becomes your life for 1,000 years, waiting for surprise raids by every lowlife who figured out that Britain's geography, all those cozy little coves, is perfect for sneaking in by boat, lying low through a storm, then joyfully plundering the next town. In Europe, the Dark Ages are usually billed as Rome versus the filthy barbarians. In Britain, though, it's more like Romanized Celts versus non-Romanized Celts, the ones who still paint their bodies and hair, and the ones who don't and go to the baths and get their beards trimmed. So now it looks obvious how this will go. Wild Celts pour in from the north and west, trying to stab you. You sit in the south and try to stab them back. Somewhere in the middle, surely, the lovely England of the future will appear, and we'll all live happily ever after. Right? Nope. Then the Germanic peoples show up. In Europe, things are going very, very badly. The Huns arrive, the climate cools. Basically, have you ever watched a zombie apocalypse movie? What do the characters do first to survive? Right. They look for a boat and flee to an island far away from the chaos. That's roughly what happens to Europe. And which island is nearby? Exactly, your island. So while some of your Romano-Celtic friends flee Britain for the continent, others are fleeing the continent to Britain. And no one finds that weird. Saxons, Jutes, Frisians, and the Angles. Yeah, the name Angles kind of spoils the ending for us. This wasn't one massive invasion like it's often portrayed, a terrifying horde sailing in to seize Britain. More often, it was just private trips. A family of 9 might show up. But there were a lot of those families. They weren't coordinating. No central commander, no grand plan. So you walk back from another scrap with the Picts and see a bunch of strange people around a fire. Who are you lot? We're Saxons. We'll be living here now. Oh yeah? Then here's a deal. We'll kill you all. Fine. but probably not everyone. That's when they still don't have leaders. Leaders arrive soon enough. Any remote control king immediately declares himself emperor, or at least king. These petty kings multiply like rabbits, and in a day you can find yourself a subject of 2 or 3 different kingdoms. A king shows up with his crew. Here's the deal. You pay us, we protect you. Great, from who? Well, if you don't pay, from us. Payment, of course, is food. None of these continental barbarians, just like the local ones, have any idea what coins are for. A bag of beans, that's real value. But the most talented Al Capones manage to hoard chests of looted Roman gold. They like turning it into necklaces, so no one has any doubts about who's the boss. And what if your money is now worthless at home? Right, head to France. But on the continent, things are getting weird. You used to buy bread for an entire town with coins. Now you sail over and some shady guy sits there. He speaks a language you don't understand. He won't sell you bread. And most importantly, he also doesn't understand coins. I just got here with the great migration of peoples. Coins? Weird. But I can smash your head in. And hunger begins. Money is worthless. There's no bread. Fields are wrecked by raids and general chaos. You're starting to wonder if eating a few enemies, maybe even some friends, just a little, might be on the menu, but only to follow the plate method. But even that isn't the end of these good old days. One day, pulling yourself away from the plate, you realize you no longer live in a city. Roman cities are useless now. Once centers of trade and law, the intellectual hub has shifted to wherever some bearded guy sits and says, "I'll smack you if you don't do what I say." Civilization now revolves around that guy, and whether he's an Anglo-Saxon who sailed in or a Celt who hopped over Hadrian's wall, he's most comfortable living in a hill fort. These are the same ancient Celtic hill forts that Caesar and his buddies kicked your ancestors out of at the start of the era. 400 years they stood abandoned. Now they're back in the mainstream. The good news? These hill fort guys are endlessly butchering each other. They ride through swamps and gardens, constantly asking, "Who are you? Who am I?" Then it's, "I'm king of this hill fort. I'm king of this stream. I'm king of this cabbage patch." And you start asking yourself, maybe I'm done? How long can this go on? Decades, centuries even. I've been cracking Pict skulls, then Scots skulls, then Saxon, Jute, Anglo, Frisian skulls. Enough already. Where do I see myself in 5 years? You won't believe it. King Arthur. Okay, maybe not you personally. Maybe Merlin. Maybe Lancelot. But that militia commander who grilled you in the job interview? Very possibly. Everyone knows the legend of King Arthur is a legend. Not everyone knows it reflects very real events and people. People like you who didn't run off to France with the legions but stayed to fight, first the local barbarians and then the newcomers from the continent. Even in the fragments of chronicles that survived from the Dark Ages, there's confirmation. You and your friends fought well. You dealt the barbarians defeat after defeat, again and again. But it was the infinite respawn of chores. There were simply too many barbarians. And you start to notice you're fighting further west. And further again. Places like today's Wales or Cornwall are where your descendants still live. If someone had told you then that your cause was doomed, you'd gladly cut off that smart guy's head. But the struggle for Rome's legacy was lost. Your descendants kept fighting, but they no longer shouted, "For great Rome." They shouted, "I'm king of this stream. I'm king of this cabbage patch." They melted into the new mainstream. And you have no idea that the real trouble hasn't even begun yet. Because any day now, the Vikings will sail in. Don't miss the Vikings. Ring the bell, and may the Force be with you.